Hi guys, welcome to the Plot Twist podcast. Welcome actually to episode 2 of the Plot Twist podcast. My name is Catherine, and I'm coming to you from Berlin, Germany, which is where I grew up and where I now live with my husband and our 3 kids. This is a slow fashion podcast focusing primarily on knitting. Today there's also going to be a strong focus on mending. You can find me as Katharina Knits on Instagram and as Frau Christ on Ravelry, and I'm going to leave links for those places down below in the description box so you know where to find me and can just go click and check it out if you want to. And also I'm going to generally leave show notes below this video, so if you're interested in anything that I mention and want to look it up, there's going to be a whole collection of links and information for you just down below this video. So first I want to say thank you so much for the kind words that some of you found for my first video, which was so awkward for me to film it and also to publish it. Yeah, so that was exciting and weird, but exciting. So I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I started podcasting because, like I mentioned last time, this is something I've been meaning to do for quite a while. And so now I got over myself and just finally did it. And your welcome was very nice and very sweet indeed. Someone left a comment here, other people messaged me. So that was really lovely and very nice. And thank you so much for that. So, and I can actually start today with a finished object. And this is so freshly off my needles that it even still has progress keepers on it. And it's not blocked or anything. It's not soaked. I don't usually block things in that sense that I give it an aggressive block. I just soak whatever it is that I've made and then lay it flat to dry and pull it into shape a tiny little bit if I have to, and then I just leave it. I try to just give it a soak and let it rest and not if I can avoid it, I'm not going to pin it. I think a shawl can use to be pinned, or obviously lace has to be pinned, but other things I try to not touch them too much because I've regretted it in the past, but that's a story for a different day, for a different time. So here's my I want to say Musselburgh, but it's Musselburgh hat that I had been about halfway through last time around that I podcast, which is about not quite 2 weeks ago. By the way, I think 2 weeks might be my rhythm. That feels like it's doable. I'm gonna aim for every other week. At any rate, that's my Musselburgh hat that I finished. Oh man, the lighting in here now. Today I'm podcasting from our place. Last week I was at my mother-in-law's, and it's a much brighter place there. And here I'm right by the window, which maybe you can tell. There's a balcony right here, and the doors are wide open, but the balcony eats a lot of the light. So it's a little murkier in here, and I can already tell that the color representation is not quite accurate because it's a livelier color in real life than it seems to be on the video. But see, so for the Musselburgh hat, you cast on, you increase up until about here, I would say, and then you just knit all the way down to there. So you knit a whole long tube basically, and see how, oh man, it shows more on the camera than I see it in real life. See what the yarn does. Like in the beginning I said last week, it's a bit of a stripy affair with like bigger chunks of stripes. And as soon as I said that, when I continued knitting, it started like doing this. So like the green would stick with the green and the blue would go under the blue. And then there would be these little micro stripes, which look like some sort of an animal, I feel like with that, like the back of an animal. Then it goes back to the green, and then there's this entire blue part, and it keeps on like moving. So it's interesting what that yarn wants to do, and I'm going to show you what the hat is going to look like and how you can maneuver it. So now you're going to have to turn it to fold it in on itself. Find the top, and then you're going to have 2 layers of fingering weight yarn on top of one another. You're going to put it on and fold over the brim so that around your ears it's going to be 4 layers. So that makes for a very warm hat. I've worn one of these last winter and they were really warm, so I made 2 more. One for me, and this I think is going to be for my boys. I have 2 sons who are 4 and 7, and they've already been asking, like, who are you knitting this for? That's nice colors, like, who's this for? And I said, well, it can be yours if you want it. And I think they want it. So that's what the hat is going to look like, more or less. I mean, now it's a little wonky because it's unblocked, but the fun thing with this is you can turn it, I mean, you can wear it like this and have it be really slouchy and less warm around the ears, obviously, because you will only have like 2 layers of fabric instead of 4. But this is one option, or you turn it inside out and then you have this zigzaggy thing appear. Again, it looks more, it looks very exaggerated on the screen now, as opposed to real life where it's much more muted and not as busy as it seems on the screen now. And again, if you fold that over, you can tune it down a little bit, but I'm gonna give this a soak and then get pictures for Instagram and make a post, publish a post on Instagram so you can have a look at this with more of an accurate, like a more accurate color representation, because this is not quite it. Anyway, so that's a finished object, even if it gives you a bit of a headache on the screen. Really, it doesn't in real life. I'm going to tell you about the yarn, which, hold on 1 second so I can see how much I've left. So I used about 75 grams of a fingering weight skein, and I measured, like I weighed it before I started the tip, before I went into the decreases for the top, and it seems that I've used not quite 7 grams. Could that be right? Yeah, 6.5, 7. So that's not a lot. I always wanted to, with the other hats, see how much yarn I use for the increases and decreases so that I know when to stop. Because you knit, and then, you know, you have to have enough yarn left for the, obviously, for the top, for the crown. But with that yarn, I didn't run into that problem because I had enough, obviously, like around 25 grams left. So that was not an issue, but I wanted to know anyways. I am using the Loving Path yarns, and that the dyer of behind the Loving Path is my friend Debbie from Canada. So I ordered this from her, I don't know when, not too long ago. This is her high twist sock base, whoops, her high twist sock base, and the colorway is Knit Away. And it's a blue with green speckles, darker blue, lighter blue, and then a little bit of green in there. And again, it's not as high contrast as it seemed to be now. The pattern is the Musselburgh hat by Ysolda Teague, and it's I knit it with 3.25 millimeter needles, but you can, the good thing about that pattern is you can basically use whatever yarn you have and want to use for your hat. Then you use whatever needles you feel like they give you a good gauge, a tight enough or loose enough gauge, or just the look that you want. And then she has, it gives you the numbers, like if you have that sort of gauge, you need to increase up until this point, up until you have like X amount of stitches on your needles, and you just take it from there. So it's just, it's a recipe, and she gives you like the numbers here and there. It's a very simple pattern. It's a fun pattern, sorry, to knit. I can see why Cave, the crazy sock lady who got me into knitting Musselburgh hats, was so addicted to them because you just do your tiny little bit of work and then you knit all this entire long tube, and then you do the decreases and there you go. It's a fun pattern for sure. Like, I would really recommend it. And if you have like a fun nice speckly yarn or whatever, like one skein where you don't know what to do with it and you want to show it off in some way, so you don't just maybe want to use it for socks, or I don't know, or maybe for baby clothes that are going to be worn for 2 months and then you never see them again or whatever, and you want to use it and wear it and show it but not incorporate it in a sweater maybe, or I don't know, use it for a fun hat, because I think especially the Musselburgh hat, because it uses so much of a skein or even an entire skein for some people. Or my last two were with slightly thicker yarn, that probably sport weight, I don't know, but I would have still thought it was a fingering weight yarn, and that used up the entire cake. So perfect. So you don't have any leftovers. You can use up all the beautiful precious yarn that you have, and you're going to have a beautiful hat. That's the word I was looking for. This has lived in my Mending bag, and now this tiny little bag can find a new project to go in here. All right, up next I have my Plants Are Friends tote bag, because like I said last week, I often use just tote bags for my knitting. And well, guys, this is a bit of a mess, this sweater. I am talking about my stripes sweater, which I showed you last time. I'm gonna say that now before I forget, because I did not, for any of my projects, tell you what size needles I was using. I'm using a 3.5 millimeter needle and a 3 millimeter needle for the smaller needle, like for the collar and the cuffs, and so on. And so, let's see, this is now very scrunched up because I have several, I have needles in both one sleeve and down at the hem, and needles because it's 3 needles, 3 sets of needles for those 2 places, and that is a little excessive. But I wanted to be able and try it on often because there were some issues that I ran into. Okay. So this is the stripe sweater. It's, see, that's what it's going to look like when it's finished. This is my stripe sweater by Andrea Mowry. That's a pattern by Andrea Mowry. I chose not to do a different stripe all the way through, but this is a, see, color representation today is a little poor. This is, again, the Loving Path yarns in her Nova fingering base and the Bloodmoon colorway. That's a non-superwash fingering weight base. So I chose this to go as a main color, and I'm going to show it so that you might be able to see it better. This is not excellent representation. So this is, I always think of it as a red color, but it's really more of a purple, jewel tony purple color. Then there is a Homespun House with this speckly superwash yarn. That's the colorway is called Folklore, and it's her gold Stellina base. And this green is also a Homespun House in her non-superwash fingering weight base, and the colorway, which I think is no longer dyed, is called Monstera. So these are my colors, and I chose to have a main color and then alternate these 2, which I'm very happy with. And it never occurred to me that this is a Christmassy color combination. And when I showed it to my husband, he said, well, this is a Christmas sweater. And first I thought, what are you talking about? And then I saw it, and now I can't stop, you know, thinking of Christmas. And he said, well, because I was unsure of like how long to make it. I said last time, I don't want to make it cropped. I don't want to make it too long because it's not a baggy sweater. Well, it fits me. It's not super close fitting, like tight around me, but it's not oversized. And he said, well, make it long because you're going to wear it when it's really cold. And I said, why? Well, because it's a Christmas sweater. And then I thought, oh, there is something to that. Then again, I just didn't feel it with I don't want it to be too long for some reason. I'm never going to wear a cropped sweater. That's for sure. But it's just because it's just not my thing. I don't know. I feel weird in this. Because I'm very tall and I feel like it looks funny. I don't know. I've never desired a cropped sweater. I'm just gonna leave it at that. And this is now, it goes down to like around my hips, and I'm going to undo the last two. Oh man. This is a real situation here. I'm going to, because I want to end with a red or a purple, right? I want this to be the ribbing again, because I want this to be the kind of frames or the color for the cuffs and for the hem and for the collar, because I like it for symmetry reasons. So I'm going to unpick this green one. This is going to go, and then I'm going to rip back up until here to the beginning of that red or purple. I just say red, but it's purple, red, purple. To the beginning of that purple stripe. And then I'm going to knit the ribbing, I think, for the length of 2 stripes together. So I'm not going to make it short, like just 8 rows for 1 stripe. I'm going to make it 16 for this much, right? Can you see this? This is so wonky that I have issues showing it off, but I mean, maybe you know what I want to say. Like this is going to be ribbing, and this is all going to be in the purple. And I think that I'm good, and I can finally bind off, because now I have 2 sets of needles in here so I can try it on. And that was a good idea because I have tried it on a few times since, but now I've made up my mind and I can solve this situation. But I'm afraid that first I will have to finish my sleeve, because I need the red yarn. I don't want to break it and then break it again and then put it, because I carry the red up inside the sleeve and I only break the contrasting stripes. I don't have to show it to me, I have to show it to you. So there you go. There was another issue with the sleeve, because usually my upper arms and their circumference don't match the rest of the measurements, in basically every pattern. Like I don't have much of a bust circumference. I usually can go for a very small size based on my bust measurements. But when I measure my upper arms, I need to go up at least 1 size, maybe 2. In my view, the armholes, the circumference that is given for the armholes is always, like too small. Always. I'm using that word deliberately. Always. It's always too small, because for me, this is never a realistic representation. Like the relationship between, or the relation between bust circumference and like all the other measurements and the upper arm is never a good match for me. Like I think the bust circumference of small size would have to be paired with the size medium for the arms, and so on. And medium size would have to be paired with the size large, and so on. And but it's not the end of the world, because there are ways to make it work. And what I do is I pick up more stitches for the armholes than you're supposed to. So when it says, like, I don't know, pick up 56 stitches, and then you have like 6 or 8 or however many cast on that you're gonna, like, below the arms that you're gonna pick up for the sleeves, there is inevitably going to be holes on either side. So I try and pick up stitches there that are not indicated, which comes in handy because I can close these gaps at least a little bit. But often it's good enough. Like often I don't have to go back and fix it. I hope you can follow me. So this is what I did here. I didn't even bother measuring now. I just thought, okay, so if she indicates pick up X amount of stitches that you still have on your needle and then from the underarms, I immediately picked up like may have been 8 extra stitches, 4 on the right of those underarm stitches and 4 on the left of those underarm stitches to close up those gaps that I just talked about for so long. And then I thought, okay, so then I'm good. Then I'm good to go. Turns out the sleeves are a little wide now, which is weird because that's never happened to me, that I thought, oh, I wish I'd picked up less stitches for the arms. But that's the situation now. So I've tried this on again and again and again, and I decreased at a faster pace. I'm increasing every 6 rounds, and she indicates something else, less frequently. And to decrease at a slower pace. Did I say increase? I meant decrease. To decrease at a slower pace, and I'm doing it every 6 rounds, so the sleeve circumference gets smaller faster. And then I was worried that I was going to look funny, so I tried it on again and again and again. So that's why I left both of those needle sets in the hem. But I think it's going to work. You can hardly see the decreases, I'm afraid. It does get smaller though. Oh, I have them. They're indicated here. See, can you see the light bulb stitch markers dangling? So I put them wherever I decrease so that it's easier to count and not to miss when I next have to decrease. I think this is going to be good. I think this is going to be nice. Not too wide around the arms and not too snug either, even though I like snug arms, snug sleeves rather. Yeah, I was wondering whether I should rip back, but I did not want to have to deal with those holes in the underarms because I really don't like them, and I have not found a way to close those holes so that it doesn't show. So picking up more stitches in these places for me is the best solution because it's the nicest solution. I didn't want to give up, these benefits, and I still didn't want baggy arms. Then again, it's just a sleeve, so I'm just going to knit it, and if I don't like it, I can always rip it back. It's not like it takes me 5 years to knit the sleeve, and I want to get it right, so I can only just like knit it and try it on, and then I have to decide. Then I have to decide based on that. Oh man. Okay, so at any rate, this is where I am. I have a little much more to go, not too much, especially if you're decreasing fast. The circumference gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and then there is this situation to get a hold off, and then there is a second, oh goodness, this is a disaster. Then there's a second sleeve to get on my needles. Oh, so now I can actually show you because like I put them on scrap yarn. So that is on scrap yarn here. These are the live stitches I'm gonna put back on my needle and I'm good to go. And however, to have enough room for the actual physical arm to go through that hole, you pick up stitches under the arm, and that's these, and then you have to close the gap between like here where the last the underarm stitch is, and up here where the first one is, that's on the first live stitches, that's on the waist yarn. So you have this little gap to manage, right? Because otherwise it just creates a hole inevitably. It is bound to create a hole. And so I'm picking stitches up with these threads in such a way that they don't create a hole like this, but they're, you have to be a little fiddly and like just try it out. Yeah. And so that's going to be a nicer situation than like just leaving this and then having to deal with that hole that is when you go back and when you have your sweater finished and you go back and try to close it, it's going to show, and it's not going to, or my abilities are not such that it's going to be pretty. Maybe that's the better way to put it. Yeah. So that's where I'm at with my striped sweater. But having, talked you through all kinds of problems that arose, that have arisen, however you say that I've encountered, it's still a very fun project, even though I'm a little overwhelmed with the managing of it all, as you can tell. But it's a fun project. It's a great project. It's a project I really very much enjoy, and I'm still looking forward to casting on a second striped sweater. Sweater knitting is generally my favorite. Fingering weight sweaters, that's my thing. And I'm always excited about the next like 5 sweaters on my mind that I really want to cast on. So that's that. That's the only work in progress I can show you today. Yeah, period. Now I'm going to talk to you about what I'm wearing. This is a tiny little category that I'm going to fit in whenever I have something to say about what I wear, because I figured I'm going to wear a lot of my old hand knits, but things that I've knit in the past that you would not have seen. And this is actually obviously not a knitting project, but a sewing one, tiny little bit at least. I wanted to say my last living grandmother. My grandmother, my paternal grandmother, who was my last grandparent alive, died almost exactly a year ago. And not too long ago, we had a little family reunion thing on her property before it is sold, and we will not be able to go back and to gather there, because like my aunt and uncle, they live just really close by where my grandmother used to live, but my father and me and like our family, we are all located in Berlin, which is far away. So anyways, and there is an aunt in Scotland who came, and so there was an entire little reunion, nothing big, but very nice and very fun and exciting. And I went to my grandmother's place for one last time. She had a house and like a beautiful property where I was very glad that my kids could like take the time to run around there and explore that and have those memories, especially my younger son, who could not remember ever having been there because he was too little. So that was fun. And we met all kinds of people that I hadn't seen in a while. And then I went through my grandmother's house, or all of us did, and decided if there was something that we wanted to like take home. And I mean, most of the stuff is just stuff that you are tempted to take home, but it becomes overwhelming because everybody has their own stuff. You're not going to use all of those things, and I didn't want to like over clutter our place with just memorabilia, so we took a little bit of this and that, and that was it. And then I found this dress that I don't know, well, I think she has worn it, but it has to have been a while. I never saw her wear it, and it was not the style that she would have worn when I knew her. This is a long dress, so that's the neckline, obviously, and it used to have, it's a long dress. It gets very baggy. It gets very, it's very flowy. I'm too close to the camera now so that I can actually stand up, or maybe I can try. Hold on. I might get all of that situation. So here, you can see how this is very long and flowy. See? This is very long and flowy. Okay, and these are not colors that I would usually have chosen. I like the pink. I'm okay with the yellow and with the green, but this color, which I suppose you would say it's a mauvey color, I would classify it as some sort of an earth tone. And when I see earth tones, I run away because they don't work for me at all. And I thought this is maybe too pale of a dress for me. Like it's not enough of a contrast because I have such light skin and it kind of like gets lost and I look very pale. Sorry, I have to like readjust on the couch. And I'm so pale to begin with that I tend to shy away from things that make me look even paler. I tend to look a little ill or sickly in too much of like an earth tony situation. So I was like on the fence, but something told me like, take this home. This might be fun. And I couldn't leave it. And I thought it's going to go anyway. Like it's only going to be thrown away. And I thought I love the fabric because it's very thin and very flowy. And I thought if nothing else, I can always make something else out of it. Like say a skirt, or I can use it to sew bags when I sew project bags, to use it as lining, or I can, a pillow cover or whatever. You can always make something out of it. And I thought, so take it home, sleep on it, think about it, and then you can always, decide and like reassess. And so that's what I did. And this dress, so I decided to keep it as a dress. And in the beginning, I was kind of shy about it. And I thought, oh, I don't know if I'm going to wear this outside because it's not my colors, blah, blah, blah. Now I've worn it a few times when it was baking hot. And this is the lightest dress that I have. And it was so perfect. It was just what I wanted. A perfect, very, very, very thin cotton dress, flowy, baggy. I mean, there is a belt. There's a belt for it, which is just one long string of that fabric. So it's such a basic, flowy dress. I think this neckline actually looks very modern. I was surprised like how I don't know if I want to say timeless, but like how it was not so outdated as I would have thought. But, and that's why I talk about it today, of course I had to tweak it. I cut out the arms, the sleeves. There used to be very poofy sleeves. They went up until here and they were so poofy that maybe that's why I struggle with the word timeless, because they were so much like a child of their times. Like, oh my God. And that I put it on, and I mean, of course I could not close the, what's it called? The button. Oh my God. Nobody's going to watch this. Can't even think of the words. Button, belt. So the buttons wouldn't close around my arms, which of course that was to be expected. But it didn't matter because it looked hideous. I could never wear it like this. I thought I stood there in front of the mirror and thought for like 10 minutes, what can I do? This is a lost dress. Like, I don't know how to fix this. And then I thought, okay, so let's just cut out the arms. Would that help? Because that would lay bare this, or set free, whatever it is that how you put it, this neckline that I thought was a winner. And I just went for it because I thought I have nothing to lose. I want to wear this dress. I want to at least give it a try. And so just do it already. So I cut it off and I folded, I left a little margin, a little give, and folded it in and under, tucked it under, and then it just happened to have the perfect thread to sew over this little hem that was the exact same color that they used for this dress, because it was not handmade, it was store-bought at the time. And so I took care of the edges, and now I'm wearing it. And it gives me so much joy, speaking of slow fashion, to have, I want to say upcycled this old piece. Must have really been old because I never saw my grandmother wear it. And I'm not that young, so she must have had it for a while. And it's kind of her style in an interesting way, even though I never met her when she used to wear these dresses, but it fits her in a way. Like I can imagine her wearing this dress. So it makes me feel very connected to her. I'm very happy that I found a really perfect summer dress, because this is the lightness and the flowiness of this is exactly what I was looking for. And I didn't have to go shopping, which, by the way, I hate. I don't like going shopping at all. I do not like shopping at all. And so this was perfect in every way. And I am so happy with it. So that's the story of what I'm wearing today. Okay, now I'm drinking the exact same tea not the same kind of tea that I drank last week, which is Ostfriesentee for all you Germans out there. It's a black tea where you a certain mixture of different black teas where you put a little bit of sugar in it, and then you pour the tea and you let it sit, and you usually don't stir, but I do a little bit. And then you just drink it like that. And I love black tea, and yes, it is a very warm day today, but like nothing makes sense to me if I can't drink tea. So I'm gonna drink it. Okay, on to mending. There is no sewing today, no spinning, no dyeing, but there is mending. I have mended a bunch of stuff, like a ripped seam, many tiny little holes in t-shirts, hems that had come undone that I had to fold again and then sew a straight line over them, like tiny little things, but if you like, they make such a big difference. So I saved a whole lot of pieces of clothing this week, and I told myself I have to get rid of some of the things that are on the to be mended pile, which keeps growing and growing and growing. And I'm not very fond of mending socks, but there is a lot of socks to be mended in our household, because even those cotton socks, I don't throw them away just because I have a hole in them. I can't. I'm physically incapable of doing that, even if it annoys me that I have to mend them. But I want for those socks to last for my children, because I feel like otherwise I'm going to be buying socks every other week. I have to find a way that they last, and ideally not just for one child, but for all of them. I don't know. That's not always possible, because some socks are just worn through eventually, and it's just not worth mending them for like an 11th time. But as long as it makes sense, I'm definitely going to do it. And so it's not beautiful, but I'm just going to show you what I did here. See how I mended how I put wove in these little patches. It's under the foot, so nobody's going to see that it's not the exact color. Also, it's kids, so they just don't care at all. And then there was not a hole in them, but they were really worn very thin. So that was a quicker sort of mend, because I just wove through these thinner patches. And here for the heel, which is always tricky to show, I actually, can you see this? Did a little weaving. Just how you mend a sock. I wove crisscrossed over this hole and the entire area that was worn through almost entirely. So that's one sock that can go back to its owner, and then I have the second that is in a similar state. So here you can see the pre-mending situation. So that's what we're looking at. It's worn through a little bit, and then here there's a patch where it needs fixing, and I'm afraid also like up here, right there. And then the heel, likewise. See, this is all almost gone. So, but you can save it. And I'm gonna. And then I need to finally finish one mending project for my father. So I gave my father socks for Christmas a few years back. I knit those on a 2.5 millimeter needle, and they turned out much baggier than I would knit them today. I'm sorry, my nose is itching. And now having worn them for years because he didn't want to bother me, he wanted them mended, and but I really had to suggest that I do it because he wouldn't really say. And I said, well, should I take care of that situation? Are you not going to wear them otherwise? He was, yeah, They're a little too long in the foot, and they're a little too long on the leg. And I said, well, why didn't you say anything before? Because it is much easier mending socks that have not been worn for, I would say, 4 or 5 years, because they, felt. Not much, but enough that it makes it hard to unravel them. And I had forgotten that I had to reknit the heel, the tip, and now it annoys me. Oh man. So, well, okay, so there's nothing I can do about it, because I thought, why is one sock, can you see this, so much longer than the other? Well, because I took care of that situation on one sock, but not on the other. Yay. Okay, so it's a bigger project ahead of me than I thought. I think I took out about 10 rows, whatever that is. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the math and see where I need to start knitting the toe. I'm going to put the needle in there, and then I'm going to cut it open, rip it back up until that point. And then reknit that little portion with the yarn that I just took out. I'm just gonna reknit the tip. I'm not making any sense today, so I'm going to pull back and more than just the tip of the toe, and then do the toe creases immediately, and not knit all of the rest. So I'm going to have excess yarn that will go. That's the entire plan, to make it shorter. And then they have to be shortened for in the leg, which they're a little worn out, and I also made them much baggier than I would have, today. So I think about 10 rows need to go as well, which I did on the other sock, but didn't do on this one because it was a pain, honestly, and I didn't want to do it. So I just let it, I just forgot about it. But now fall is approaching, and so I want to get this off my mind and off my back and give it back to him and say, and with the next pair, for the love of God, come to me like 3-4 years earlier than this. But anyway, so I will, what was it that I did with the other? So I will put my needles in on, here, and then I will count 10 rows that I want to get rid of, and put my needle, my other set of needles in there too, so to secure both edges. And then I'm going to cut it and pull out the 10 rows I want to get rid of, and then I'm going to Kitchener those two together. That's what I'm going to do. Because this was a top-down construction, I don't want to cut back to here and then knit the cuff, because I don't like cuff knitting, and then I have to bind off, and it's going to be a different cuff than the other one, because top down and toe up is just very different with that finish up here. Also, yes, it's an entire row of Kitchenering together, but it is not going to be as much work as the other option, like knitting up. So put the needle in to secure, cut it, rip it out, Kitchener together, and you're good to go. So that's all been done on one sock and not been done on the other. This is opal yarn from a few years back. Don't ask me what that is. I cannot tell you, but it was knit on a 2.5 millimeter needle. And I used to be a very tight knitter. And when I had my first child, that changed because I think because I just knit much more. And maybe because I just let go more, I don't know. But it's a looser tension, I think always has to do with more practice. And sometimes also I think with like your attitude, like if you let go more in life, generally you're going to be a looser knitter, I think. And I think both of these things happened here. So that was a time when I was already on my way to being a quite loose knitter, which I would consider myself today. But I hadn't yet realized it. So I was still going with my old tricks, kind of like with my old needle sizes for socks, and those turned out to be very baggy, which is not too bad. But I have since knit socks on much smaller needles, like 2.25 or even 2 millimeter needles. And I have not had the issue that they're too snug. Let's just put it that way. So that's one project. Then my middle son has house shoes. That's what we call them, house shoes, like slippers, but slippers might be something else. These are our house shoes, and they've belonged to my, let me take a sip, to my older son. And he wore them in kindergarten and wore quite a few holes in them. So this entire, this entire front was totally in pieces. It was totally shredded. So I cut it out and then I knit, picked up stitches on the sides. Picked up stitches on the sides and up here, and knit garter back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, always knitting together one stitch with one of the ridges on the sides so that it would not flare out but go down straight, right? Does that make sense to you? I hope it does. So that's a patch that I made for up here to like save the entire folded up cuff, I think you would say. Now there's a new hole in here that I have to close. There was a hole here that I mended with other thread. I had to secure the edge around here. Now this is really worn, or you can just see how it's developed a little halo from wearing, because he's ran around in these shoes in kindergarten. There needed to be mending here, and then there were holes in the tip of the toes, and there have developed a few new around those. So I tried to embroider a tiny little flower on there that would at the same time close a hole, but now I feel like there are new holes developing here, so I need to figure out what to do about those. So that's a project for, well, ideally this weekend, because kindergarten starts on Monday, but since it's so warm, he's not going to need them right away. But this is for the near future. And the other side has a similar, so the other shoe has a similar situation, which is, the little flower came undone a little bit, and there's a new hole right here that I need to fix. And here there was a smaller mend on the front. See, looks like this. Not so bad. So it was not such a big portion that needed to be reknit. That's what I mean by not being so bad. And as far as I can tell, those are this one is in pretty good shape. Yeah, So these little shoes are another little project. I think it's a fast one. You can fix this in one evening. And it's also a fun little project. Look how cute they are, for a set of tiny little feet. And I like here you can actually, I can start telling you stories about the patches. That's what I like about mending. And I try to make them fun, like with this little flower, so that my son, I don't know, sometimes he doesn't want to go to kindergarten. My older son never had that issue, but my younger son does. Sometimes he would, prefer to stay home. And I like to embroider him something nice in his garments, so that he knows I made this especially for him for kindergarten. Like, he has a heart embroidered in one of his pants, so that he can check, like, on the inside of the hem, and there's this little heart just for him to see. And so I try to make these fun, so that he knows I made it especially, because that's what counts then in that moment for him. And there's another fun future mending project which I want to tackle now as well. Because, well, inevitably fall is approaching, or will be around the corner sooner rather than later. It's not that I'm wishing summer away, but well, August is about to start, so we're, and we have, so this is going to be, where to start? This is going to be, this is a jacket for my daughter, right? And this is all wool. This is a nice, good, secondhand wool jacket for her to wear outdoors when it gets colder as a top layer, right? But the thing is, and I'm really happy I ended up with that, because I mean, others would say, oh, the entire cuff is all frayed and come undone. You have to throw this away. And I thought, no, I don't have to throw this away. I can fix this. And thank goodness it ended up with us, because I'm going to fix this. I'm not going to throw this away. And I really feel like I have the chance to, like, save a piece here that is absolutely fine and really beautiful and good condition. The only thing is that this is the cuff, right? So it's completely torn here, and it's coming undone. And there is this hole here where you can really stick your finger in. And there is just a little, I don't know, frayage that needs my attention. And same on the other side. Where is it? Right here. See, this is all a mess. So this all needs to be mended and needs some love, so that it becomes wearable again and actually does its job. So, and what I'm thinking is, first I need to cut off everything that, well, needs to go and obviously wants to go. I need to make these edges clean and neat, get rid of all that, everything that is totally gone. Same here, make this a nice edge, so there's not much to do here, but just, clean this up. And then, well, in this case, I will also close this seam as much as I can, so that it's not quite as open and won't tear further. And then I knew that I had the right yarn. See, this is a good color match. This is a good color. Well, again, there seems to be more contrast on screen. In real life, it doesn't seem that much darker. It seems a very close match. Well, it doesn't on camera. We are just going to have to live with that. So maybe if I hold it like this, no. So at any rate, I'm going to knit a stretch that is like this wide. So maybe, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 centimeters. I was thinking I might knit it in garter or ribbing or just stockinette. I don't know. I have not thought this through. Ribbing might be the more obvious choice, but I think I want to go for garter. I can try different things and then see which one fits best. Just knit a little rectangle that is big enough so that it covers all of this mess and a centimeter or two more. So it's not going to end here, but obviously like here, so that all of this is covered before I will secure these places where it's completely undone, so that this does not unravel further, this situation here. I will, once I've cleared this, I will like stitch around that just with a few stitches to make sure it doesn't come undone even more. Then I'm going to knit this patch, put it on, fold it over so that it's, oops, it's put on here, and then I fold it in, and then I can sew it on along the edges and have this be a nice, neat new cuff. Or, I mean, come to think of it, you could also make it go around the entire cuff so that there is not this like little hiccup in one place, but you would not have to by any means. Yeah, I might do that too. I'm gonna see. You're gonna find out sooner or later which way I will have chosen. And same here. So I'm gonna clean this up, secure this a little bit around the edges, and then put on, like knit a patch and put it on. I think that's really what I'm going for, because I like the idea and I think it will look nice and it will be fun to make, and it will be a quick mend in the end. It's just figuring it out and managing to knit the right size patch. But I'm not too worried about that. So yeah, and that's that. The rest of the jacket is completely fine. And look how cute this is with this little hood. And then you're just gonna, I can just put it on her and she will be good to go with this beautiful thing on. And I think it's a warm wool jacket for fall, just perfect. So I want to get it done in August so that it's ready for September, because who knows, you know, how long our beautiful summer is going to last and when fall is going to roll around the corner. So I just want to be prepared. This is another future mending project. Right, now I want to show you, speaking of mending, because today I have a longer kind of mending segment. I wanted to show you a book that I love for mending that I was inspired to buy by Chelsea of Chelsea Makes. She's Chelsea Makes on Patreon, or the one half of the Legacy Fiber Arts podcast. So I'm a patron of hers, and I saw her video where she talked about videos where back a while back she talked about this book called Mending Life. There you go. And it's, see how it's very beautifully illustrated. It's a beautiful book. And here there's a segment about mending socks, and it's just beautifully illustrated. And this is really a how-to about you know, mending, how to mend all kinds of fabrics, all kinds of holes, what to pay attention to, why mend, basically. They really talk about the poetry really behind mending and preserving clothes and making them last. And like I said with house shoes, like value the patches for their sentimentality, kind of, for the memories that they hold, or for the stories you could tell about them, or for like the memories attached to like how old your kids were when they wore those shoes and why you had to mend that, and like why there's the flower on this, because he wanted to, you know, to have something extra special that you could take to kindergarten and so on. So this is exactly what's so beautiful about mending, I feel like. And see, chapter Other Common Repairs with these beautiful buttons illustrated, and there is mending happens all around us, all the time. So they use nature as an inspiration, because nature mends itself all the time. Everything is used over and over and over, right? And so they show like that there's great, see, there's great poetry in mending. And there is, yeah, it's a beautiful book. A how-to, and if you know how to mend a sock and you know how to make little repairs, this is still like a really, really good book for you. Because I'd never thought about how to mend a leggings, or like I never, before I flicked through the book, thought of, you know, picking up stitches and then knitting this in the piece, like not sewing on anything, but just using the fabric that's there, because this is a knitted ribbing fabric, machine knitted obviously, but still you can pick up stitches and just go, because I mean, you know, why not? I didn't think of that before. I don't know why, I just didn't. And then I saw this and I thought, oh, this is brilliant, and it is so easy, and I immediately knew what to do, and I knew that it wasn't hard. But they, even if you don't know what to do, they tell you what to do. I have another like a rib garment that I like one of my garments where I picked up stitches and then crocheted a patch on the elbow, but from the garment itself. Like, again, it was not sewn on. And that, I'm going to show you that eventually when fall actually rolls around the corner. I'm going to wear that again, and I'm going to show you. So this is a beautiful book by Nina and Sonya Montenegro. So if you feel like this is something, like this would add something to your mending game, definitely get it. And then for all you Germans out there, there is a very similar book, also like in a similar aesthetic, which I like, by three ladies. No, there's only their last names on here. Labedzki, Sibylle Mittag, and Ulrike Jänichen. Nach kaputt, kommt schöner. So in English that would be, after it's broken, it becomes more beautiful. It would be more beautiful, well, through mending, right? And they, it's basically, you know, along those same lines. They teach you different techniques of how to mend clothes and tell you, you know, why even bother? See, it's a very similar aesthetic, I feel like. And they show you, oh man, hold on. There's, like, they also have, like, they work with photos, which the other book does not, Mending Life does not. And there's really how-tos. They show you how you can embroider motifs on there, on your clothes. They have these little like tutorial pages, just like the other book as well. It's really beautiful. Very much an inspiration. Just if you're looking at holes, or just almost holes in your clothing, and you think like, what can I do? Well, you could turn it into something as fun as this, and it's not that hard. See, there you go. Just so much inspiration from looking at the pictures alone. And if you know how to sew, or how to, like, I don't know, needle felt, which I don't. I have the material, but I've never done it. Or how to knit, how to crochet, you will immediately have your own ideas and inspiration, and isn't that fun? Like, these books are just so very beautiful. So Nach kaputt, kommt schöner and Mending Life are two very big recommendations. Yay! And as for current obsessions, I am still very much obsessed with my dear Emma. I've gone on and on last week about how much I love the new movie. New, it's not that new anymore. It's like from 2 years ago. Oh my goodness. I love it. So brilliantly done. It is the perfect book adaptation. Period. There is no two ways about that for me. And the book, I started rereading slowly. I'm going to finish this whenever. It's not about finishing it. It's about revisiting Jane Austen's beautiful narrative and her beautiful narrative voice. And now I realize again how very funny this narrative voice is. Like how I don't know, how she makes fun of all the characters, but also like loves them very much. Like this narrator is very much in love with all the quirks of all these different characters. But there are many sentences where I think this is hilarious. This is such a funny way of putting it. Such fun or funny description of someone's ways and like how people behave around one another. And it's beautiful. It's just so gorgeous. And I mean, this edition obviously is gorgeous in its own right. Yeah, so that's that. That's all I have for today, believe it or not. Yeah. Crazy that I am at a point where I have talked my way through this episode as well. Oh, in the end, I wanted to tell you like what I've been watching, what I've been, or we have been watching on TV. We have been, my husband and I, yet again, but this is always my call. Like he never says, can we watch Friends? He's more like, turn on Friends if you want to. Like I basically always watch Friends. And we've yet again finished the entire series, I want to say, like all 10 episodes. So Netflix won't mark them as unwatched, but they're always, all of those episodes are always already marked as watched. Like they have this red, is it not an arrow, but like, you know what I mean, underneath. And well, that might tell me that I could take a break from that series and, well, you know, watch something else, watch another show. And I do, but I go back to Friends. It's just my comfort food. It's just my comfort food. When I'm overwhelmed or have a bad day, or also when I've had a good day, I just watch Friends. That's what I do. So, and then after we'd finished Friends a few evenings ago, I said, well, now what do we do? And he said, well, let's face it, you're going to start from the beginning, won't you? And I said, well, but not right away. Like, I like to pretend like it's not true. And so I went back to Seinfeld. And going back is a bit of an exaggeration because I've never really watched Seinfeld. I've several times, however, started the first season. And I've never really... don't kill me, but I never really thought it was that funny. It was fun, but not hilarious. Not what people tell me about Seinfeld or what I hear about Seinfeld. Like, it's so funny, it's hilarious. No, it was not hilarious for me. And I started the first season again and started, well, I don't know. That's not the right word. But I didn't think it was that great. And then I thought, okay, so maybe I'm just going to skip first season and not rewatch episodes that I know I didn't think were that funny before. Because that's not a good plan, is it? And so I started watching the second season, and I like it much more now. There were actually things that I thought were very funny. And so I'm going to give that a go. And my husband and I together, we thought we might start watching Uncoupled. I think that's what it's called, with Neil Patrick Harris, who I have to say has aged gracefully, hasn't he? he's obviously much older than Barney of How I Met Your Mother, but still not an old guy. I hear my kids approaching outside. They're coming back home, so I need to wrap this up. Well, I think it looked like a fun show. We watched the trailer and we thought this could actually be nice. So we're gonna give that a go one of these evenings. And that's that. So that's where I wanted to end things anyways. And yeah, so I'm glad to have recorded another episode. This is like I said at the beginning, as much fun as I thought it was going to be. Like, it was good that I finally got over myself and got to podcasting. So maybe it's been fun for you too. If you feel like it, like and subscribe below if you want to. I would love it if you left a comment. And we got to, interact with one another, because that's why I started the entire thing, so I get to know more knitters out there in the world. So if you feel like it, leave a comment and subscribe so you're not going to miss the next episode. Don't feel pressured. You're also welcome to just stop by and see if this is something for you. I hope you have a lovely few weeks until we see each other again. And until next time, take care. Bye.